Pro Football Focus grades are in for LSU's loss at Alabama. We'll tell you what you need to know. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making this your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. LSU played Alabama. The folks over at Pro Football Focus watched. They graded. We've got everything you need to know. And certainly we're going to talk plenty about Michael Van Buren and Garrett Nussmeier grading the two quarterbacks and their performances. If you're an everydayer, shout out. You know we do this every week after LSU plays. The Tigers just haven't played in 2 weeks, and candidly, we didn't do a PFF episode after LSU's loss to Texas A&M because they fired Brian Kelly the next day. And the last 2 weeks have been about basically anything but football. But Saturday night was an opportunity to get back to football and this football team, even if for a brief window, and to evaluate the team for the remainder of this season and into next year. And there are some very important conversations that we have to have about this team, this roster, and how it projects for 2026, and what we learn about them over the final 3 games, I think will be telling. So I want to start with the thing that I think everybody is most interested in, and that's the quarterbacks. We will get to the offense and the defense as a whole in just a second, but one of the caveats I always tell you about Pro Football Focus is it is a metric. It's not the metric. It's just something to consider. And sometimes Pro Football Focus will confirm the eye test. Sometimes it disconfirms the eye test or the stat lines. It's just something to consider. I really lean on PFF when it comes to grading positions like the offensive line, because most of us, when we watch the game, we're watching the football. We're like, if there's a sweep to the right, we're not watching what the left guard is doing, right? So, and there's no statistics really to gauge the offensive line. So that's one of the positions I really like to use it. If you listen to or watched the post game, you know where I stand on the quarterbacks. I think LSU offensively clearly is a mess. And I think there's so much blame to go around. Your offensive line has been poor. Garrett Nussmeier has not played well this year. I don't believe that your scheme has been particularly good. You could lay blame anywhere, and you'd be right. Receivers not getting open, receivers not making tough catches or easy catches in some cases, quarterbacks missing open receivers, bad pocket awareness, poor run blocking, poor pass protection, bad play call, like all of it. At times it's been all, you don't go 9 games into the season without scoring over 25 points. You're one of four teams to not score more than 25 against an FBS opponent. You're 9 games into the season. Like, it's not one thing. I know where most of this fan base sits right now with respect to the quarterbacks, and it's everybody, by and large, is ready to see Michael Van Buren. And my contention has been all year, will continue to be, that Garrett Nussmeier has not been good. I think that is an objective truth. There's been times early in the season when he was efficient, protecting the football, playing within the scheme, but he hasn't elevated the offense like he did at times a year ago. The rally against South Carolina, the amazing plays late against Ole Miss, an almost flawless game on the road at Arkansas last year. Those haven't been there for Garrett Nussmeier. He's not been great. I also don't believe he's the chief problem. And I think what you're going to see as we work through this is that even though Michael Van Buren entered the game, not much actually changed. So let's dive into the PFF grades and kind of compare and contrast it to the statistical performance, right? So Michael Van Buren played 21 snaps. Nussmeier played 38. So Nussmeier played the entire first half and the first series of the second half, and then Van Buren got the rest of the second half, which totaled 21 snaps. There were 16 passing downs for Van Buren of his 21 snaps. His overall grade was a 77.8, which is good, and his passing grade was an 82.8. Of course, there was a drop by Trey'Dez Green late in the game, which was really rough. But his running grade was a 57.6, was Michael Van Buren's. Nussmeier graded out very poorly. A 53 was his overall grade. His passing grade was a 58. His running grade was a 53. When you kind of peel back the layers of the onion for how it went that way, Van Buren statistically was not very good. He was 5 of 11 for 52 yards. And the reason is PFF, that the reason that his pass grade was so high is they credit him with one big time throw. My assumption is that one big time throw would be the 17-yarder to Xavier Thomas that gave LSU a first down on his first possession. Now, remember, there were back-to-back plays that were reviewed. It was that throw to Xavier Thomas and then the throw in the next play to Kyle Parker that was also reviewed. Now, the Trey'Dez Green drop certainly doesn't ding Michael Van Buren. It certainly did his stat line. He was 5 of 11 for 52 yards. If Trey'Dez catches that, he's 6 of 11 for who knows how much if Trey'Dez keeps running. So I don't think we've seen the last of Michael Van Buren for the season. He'll obviously continue to play. In what capacity, that will be interesting to see. But this is one of those things where the when I say PFF is a metric, it's not the metric. It's something to consider. So Van Buren was 5 of 11, completed 45% of his passes. Nussmeier was 18 of 21, completed 86% of his passes. Van Buren threw for 52 yards, Nussmeier 121. Van Buren's rating was an 85.2. Nussmeier was a 134.1. So, I think it's true at this point that the second Frank Wilson pulled Garrett Nussmeier and inserted Michael Van Buren in the third quarter, the quarterback controversy is now here. And that's going to make it very difficult for the remainder of the season because let's say LSU plays Arkansas this week and Nussmeier starts. And let's say LSU goes 3 and out, he throws an incompletion, they punt on the first possession. Well, fans are going to boo. And they're going to chant for Michael Van Buren. And whenever Van Buren goes into the game, you're going to hear a loud ovation. I mean, this is just what's going to happen. This happens everywhere there's a quarterback controversy. And part of me hates that for Garrett Nussmeier because I know how fans are. And I think when I look at Garrett Nussmeier, the contradiction, the hypocrisy of fans who bemoan the NIL portal era, the me era where guys transfer, they go to 3, 4, 5 different schools, they take the biggest paycheck. Fans hate that. They loathe that. They want the guy that's going to be loyal to the program. Well, Nussmeier is the quintessential example of that. He could have left at any point, could have transferred, could have gone to the NFL after last year, and he has stayed. And not only has he stayed, he has played through injury, and he has cared so deeply that he's like emotional on the sideline because this hasn't gone the way that any of us thought or hoped that it would this year. And so for fans to treat Garrett Nussmeier with anything other than the utmost respect in his final 2 home games would be nauseating. But I know how fans are, and that's going to happen Saturday in Tiger Stadium against Arkansas and a week from Saturday in Tiger Stadium against Western Kentucky, because that's what fans do. Sometimes we're idiots and we lose context. Obviously, sports and women make smart people do dumb things. So smart men do dumb things. I'm sure the women will be much more appropriate. But I assume we're going to see both. We're going to see Nussmeier and Van Buren this weekend against Arkansas. We'll continue to evaluate. And I think 2 things can be true at the same time. It's important for Nussmeier to continue to play because he's earned it. He's earned it. You're not playing for anything material anymore. He's got 2 more home games. I want Garrett Nussmeier to play in his final 2 home games. Also true is you need to see if Michael Van Buren is someone that you feel like you can build upon, who can be your starting quarterback next year, because I'm not so sure that's the case. I mean, you can say you liked what you saw from Michael Van Buren Saturday in Tiger Stadium or in Tuscaloosa. But the reality is, in all his drives, they put up 1 field goal. It wasn't materially different. And matter of fact, statistically, he was worse than Nussmeier. So it looks different because he has a different skill set and he does provide that different dimension. But are you actually better? And I don't think that you are. But I also can understand the need to evaluate Michael Van Buren for next year. So this is far from over. But that your statistics told you one thing, statistic told you Nussmeier. PFF told you Van Buren. We'll continue to get more evaluation here with 3 games remaining in this season. Okay, let's take a look at the whole offense. We'll do that when we continue Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Wayfair. The holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. Recently upgraded our outdoor patio furniture. We have a awesome outdoor kitchen that I love to spend time in. And we bought new bar stools. We had some rickety wooden bar stools that we had bought for our outdoor patio kitchen whenever we moved in. And just recently, we got the all-weather patio stools, which are awesome. We got them from Wayfair. Highly recommend that you do the exact same thing. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December the 7th. Thank you for making Locked on LSU your first listen of the day, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Today, of course, we're going through the Pro Football Focus grades as we do following each LSU game. And I wanted to take a moment and go through the entire offense and step aside from just the quarterbacks here for a second. So when you look at the top 5, as we mentioned, Van Buren was your highest graded offensive player in his 21 snaps. But after that was Nick Anderson and Chris Hilton in 7 and 8 snaps, respectively. The bottom line is you didn't have a great day offensively. That was obvious, and these grades reflect that. Braylon Moore, Aaron Anderson round out your top 5. Then Xavier Thomas, Barry Brown. If you look at the bottom 5, the lowest graded offensive player was Trey'Dez Green. Obviously, he had the big drop. His run blocking grade was a 53. His pass blocking grade was a 69.7, which is outstanding, but he gets dinged in a big way for the drop. Trey'Dez was your lowest graded offensive player. Then Weston Davis, who got pulled. We'll talk about him in just a second. Bauer Sharp, Kyle Parker, and then Garrett Nussmeier was your 5th lowest rated player. And then Ory Williams was a notch above him. And I think that's interesting because as we look at the offensive line, which has been much maligned all season that we've talked about, the pass blocking grades in some instances, especially in the interior, have been very good. It's been pass blocking with your tackles that have been a problem. And everybody's run blocking grades have been average to poor. Well, this is one of those games where your pass blocking grades actually were pretty good across the board. You just gave up 1 sack, the sack that Nussmeier took on the first possession of the third quarter. Josh Thompson had an 87.8 pass blocking grade. Braylon Moore at 84.6. Cohen Eccles, 81.8. Karius Kern, starting at left tackle, 80.4. Now, he's credited with giving up the sack, but if we're being quite honest, that was a 3-man rush and fell more on Nussmeier not stepping up and rolling back instead. Kern also got dinged because he had 2 false start penalties, but actually was really good. His run blocking grade was the highest among your starting players, your starting offensive linemen. So Kern actually acquitted himself quite nicely at left tackle. Paul Mabenga only played 8 snaps. His pass blocking grade was a 76.9. Ory Williams and Weston Davis are the 2 that we kind of need to talk about because Ory Williams started the second half. So Weston Davis started the game at right tackle, and then Ory Williams replaced him in the third quarter and played the second half. So for the game, it was, So for the game, Weston Davis played 27 snaps in the first half, and then Ory Williams played 32 in the second half. Davis's overall grade was a 44.9. Ory Williams was a 54.9, so 10 points better. Their pass blocking grades were virtually identical. 67.3 for Davis, 69.2 for Ory Williams. The big difference came in the run blocking grades. Davis' run blocking grade was a 46. Ory Williams was a 57. So that's the differential you get there, and each had a penalty. As a matter of fact, the first offensive snap for LSU of the game, Weston Davis had a false start. The first offensive snap of the third quarter, Ory Williams had a false start. So there was good and bad with each of them. It'll be interesting to see what direction they go. But this is, a material difference that we have to keep an eye on because they have made changes. Remember, at the start of the season, Paul Mabenga was the starting left guard. And then, he suffered an injury and he was splitting time with Cohen Eccles. Well, Eccles has almost exclusively now been the starter at left guard. With Tyree Adams out, Carius Kern looks like he is going to be your starter at left tackle. And Moore and Thompson at center right guard, the two transfers, have been steady all year. The real question is, do you continue to ride with Weston Davis at right tackle, or have you made the switch now to Ory Williams to give him an opportunity to see what direction he may go? Now, I had a chance to interview Ory Williams before the season started on my radio show, and they had started working him at guard. And Ory Williams talked about how he was much more comfortable at guard than at tackle. But if this is his path to the field, this may be what we see. Because remember, you're going to lose Josh Thompson at graduation. Braylon Moore could return for another season. I sure hope that he does, but he could also go pro. And he's had despite the fact that the season has been bad, Braylon Moore has played really well there on the offensive line. But you have so many guys this year that have gotten so many guys that have gotten experience on the offensive line this year, and it's been a lot of trial by fire. So with Tyree Adams and Paul Mabenga and Cohen Eccles and Weston Davis, now Ory Williams, Carius Kern, all these guys have played a ton of football. And so in this era, the portal era, you'd rather not ever have to do that with young guys. You'd rather just go get guys out of the portal and let your young guys get come of age as they can through practice and then lean on them when you need to. But this is one of those years where it's been so bad, and you hope that you're better in the future for having gone through this. Now, it doesn't make it easy to look at right now, but the final 3 games are a real opportunity for a guy like Ory Williams to see if he can continue taking advantage of those reps with Weston Davis now potentially being replaced, or if they continue to shuffle and rotate. So just something worth keeping an eye on there. But bottom line is, there just weren't a lot of great moments offensively. It just wasn't a great day for Trey'Dez Green, as we talked about. Bauer Sharp had a false start on a 4th and 1. His run blocking grade was a 46. He fumbled. Kyle Parker, who was there at the bottom as well, was targeted twice, did not have a reception. They reviewed that, the one. So as you look kind of at the bottom, from the bottom up, it kind of tells the story of the day. Of course, Bauer Sharp's fumble led to a field goal for Alabama, much like it did against Clemson in the opener. So it was just not a great day for the LSU offense all the way around. And clearly the PFF grades reflected that. The opposite was true for the LSU defense, where they played outstanding for much of the day. And we'll run through that next. Locked on LSU, your team every day. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The LSU defense was fairly outstanding on Saturday. He held Alabama to 20 points. Very disappointing to give up the touchdown right before half on the 22-second drive. But outside of that, your highest grade defender was Deshaun Spears, followed by Harold Perkins, West Weeks, Jamari Butler, and Mansour Delane. Your linebackers were actually really good, with the exception of Devon Keys in coverage. He was targeted 3 times, gave up 3 receptions on all 3 targets, including the big 53-yarder. Forgive me, that was against P.J. Woodland. It was the 32-yarder is the one that to the tight end down the left sideline that Devon Keys gave up. But all in all, for your defenders, it was a pretty good day. At the bottom, the lowest graded was Patrick Payton, then Dylan Carpenter, DJ Pickett, Tamarcus Cooley, Ahmad Bro. And I tell you often that when we look at the PFF chart, it's kind of color coded. So dark blue is excellent. For example, Harold Perkins his pass rush grade was a 94.6. That's a dark blue on the chart. And it goes from like dark blue to light blue to dark green to light green to then like yellowish. Then it keeps getting darker, like orange, then red is bad, right? So I look for where are my blues and where are my reds. Well, Perkins' pass rush grade, Deshaun Spears, his overall grade and his coverage grade were above a 90. That was outstanding. The reds were tackling grades. AJ Halsey at 24, Tamarcus Cooley at 23, Patrick Payton at 20.6. So that was some of your bad defensively, were just some missed tackles in some spots. But Deshaun Spears, he's played dime this year and he's played it well. Obviously, the pick six against Florida was the highlight. He only played 12 snaps in this game, but graded at a 90.4 in coverage. There was one pass that went his way, he made the tackle. It was a 2-yard gain. Perkins was awesome. I mean, he made the play of the game. He had the sack, strip, fumble. So the sack, the strip sack, so the forced fumble, the fumble recovery on Ty Simpson. So his 6 pass rush snaps graded him out at a 94.6. What you don't like is that Perk dropped into coverage 30 times. But on those 30 times, he was only targeted 6 times. Now, he allowed 5 catches on 6 targets, but he led LSU in tackles and was a really good day for Harold Perkins defensively. This was West Weeks' best game of the season. He made the 4th down stop on Jan Miller on that first drive. He had 7 tackles. His tackling grade, we talked about how some of the guys struggled with their tackling grade. West Weeks, his tackling grade was an 81.8 was West Weeks' tackling grade. So a really good day for West Weeks. Yeah, and then I mentioned Jamari Butler was also there. He was the 4th highest graded player. He had a hurry, a pair of tackles. So actually almost came up with an interception as well on the deflected ball. When AJ Halsey came across the hands and it floated up into the air, it was a Jamari Butler who almost came up with the interception on that play. So a nice day defensively. The defense gave LSU a chance, right? The defense holding Alabama to 20 points gave LSU a chance to win the football game. Your offense just wasn't good enough. And as unfortunate as it is, that's just the way it went. Patrick Payton was the lowest graded player. He had the big missed tackle on Ty Simpson when he broke Alabama's longest run of the night. He missed a couple of other tackles. So his tackling grade was the 20.6 that we talked about. He was also penalized for offsides, which gave Alabama the free play. So not a great day for Patrick Payton, but that is a bit of an outlier relative to the rest of the day defensively for LSU. I mean, you held Alabama to 20 points in their stadium. You gave yourself a chance to win. Your offense was just incapable of moving the football and finishing drives, regardless of who was in there. So I know the quarterback conversation is what we're going to continue to talk about, but I'll remind you again, regardless of if it's Nussmeier or Van Buren, so much of what LSU is going to do isn't going to change. You can't change your offense 9 games in. You can maybe rely more. We talked about it last week. You can rely more heavily on the run. You can call maybe a different sequence. You could try to slow the game down, but you can't change what you are. Like, for example, I know everyone talks about Nussmeier won't throw the ball downfield. He won't stretch the field. So you're right. Garrett Nussmeier threw one pass that traveled beyond 20 yards. It was the deep ball down the right sideline for Berrien Brown that was incomplete. One. So there's one pass that went downfield that traveled 20 yards in the air. Michael Van Buren in the second half threw 0 passes that traveled 20 yards in the air. So it's just an illustration that this offense, regardless of who's under center, is what it is. Van Buren was 3 for 4 in the 10 to 20 yards in the middle, 3 for 4 for 47 yards. Nussmeier in that 10 to 20 yard range, 3 for 4 for 52 yards. I mean, these guys, their days, like where they targeted the field, were almost identical. And what you're going to deal with when it comes to Van Buren is a guy who is going to make some wow plays. There was a play in the spring game where he ripped one from about 25 yards out, right down the seam into the back of the end zone. It's like, whoa. And you can see it's in there. Like the lively arm is in there. And he can also make you miss, and he can take off and run and be real athletic, which Nussmeier cannot do. But that's also not what the offense is built around. So if Van Buren's back next year and they want to cater an offense to a different skill set, that's one thing. But this offense isn't going to change dramatically over the final 3 weeks, regardless of who's playing quarterback. I'll remind you, Van Buren played the entire second half and managed one field goal drive. It's a lot of the same issues that plague the offense with Nussmeier under center are the same issues that is going to plague the offense with Van Buren. The inability to protect, the inability to allow receivers to get downfield, to stretch the field in the passing game. You can run a lot of horizontal passes to the sideline, which drives people crazy because of all the screens, but it's just what you have to do when your line can't protect and when you struggle to get the running game going. So I suspect we'll see both Nussmeier and Van Buren Saturday in Tiger Stadium against Arkansas. My one word of caution would be that you will be in that number. Be respectful. All right, that's going to do it for us here on today's episode of Locked on LSU. Thanks as always for making us your first listen. If you are listening on your favorite podcast app, thank you so much. Please rate us, leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. We're also live every single Monday through Friday on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. So please check your listings if you're watching on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Thanks so much for being there with us. Until next time, it is Locked on LSU, your team every day.